We all know how dangerous it can be to approach life with an ends justify the means attitude. You know, the idea that as long as we get to the desired goal, it doesn't really matter how we get there. How foolishly, how unethically, how mean-spiritedly. As long as the goal is good, as long as the ends are right, whatever means would be appropriate. Of course, what I'm talking about is the complete absence of news, as yet another deadline in Vienna in the P5+1 talks, the negotiations to keep or at least slow down Iran's progress toward nuclear weapons. Another deadline was blown by, and it's not even news. It's as if even the people who believe in these negotiations feel that as long as we're negotiating, we're doing our job. And it doesn't matter if negotiation deadlines are blown through, and it doesn't matter what we achieve. In fact, it was really disturbing today when I read in more than one place officials from the U.S. side saying things like, well, it would be a tragedy if we didn't conclude these negotiations successfully, given how much time and energy we have put in. How much time and energy? The reason to successfully negotiate and come to some arrangement between the various countries is not to validate the process or justify the expenditure of time. It is, one hopes, to create more peaceful relations between potentially warring nations in the world. Look, I have ever-deepening suspicion about these negotiations, and yet I appreciate that those are the people with whom you must negotiate. You don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. And as hard as that may be, and as unlikely as it may seem, it is really important to invest as much as possible in that process. On the other hand, it is really important to remember that just as we can be seduced by the notion that the ends will justify the means, it is just as easy to be seduced by the notion that the means will justify the ends. That whatever deal we make, on whatever timeline we make it, will be okay, because after all, the process was good. Somehow, we're going to have the strength to do two things, and do them very quickly. Appreciate that the process alone is not what this is about, that the means do not justify the ends, and at the same time, not become so cynical that we jump to ends that we would all regret because of how violent and dangerous they may be. At the very least, it would be helpful if when we blow past deadlines that are supposed to mean something, it actually made the news, because we knew that sitting at the negotiating table is not the goal. Making something happen that leaves the world legitimately safer and more secure, that's the goal.